Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. We're going to try and get you through this Monday morning. I'm Steve,
And I'm Scott.
and together we're Backyard Musings, the Science and Technology channel.
Yeah, we hope you had a good weekend, good Sabbath day yesterday, and we're talking about Egypt and a particular princess, I think, right?
Got several princesses.
Princesses. I'm sorry, princesses. Yeah, and yeah, so we haven't talked about anything in the Middle East for a bit, so let's get with it.
And before we start, Scott, let's tell the listeners there's some celestial events going on this month up in the sky. Total eclipse of the sun, the Perseid meteor shower, which will be spectacular because it's a new moon. The moon is what blots out a lot of the stuff we see because it's so well lit. And then six planets are going to be aligned together. You'll see them. As a matter of fact, Mars and Jupiter will pass by very closely. So that'll be pretty interesting. Starts the 12th. We'll probably do a special edition on that because it's so special.
Yeah, YouTube is titling it the biggest sky gazing day of the century. So that's pretty big.
It is big.
Yep. Looking forward to that. That's this week.
Yes. That's the 12th, Wednesday. Yep.
Yeah, just in a couple days.
Okay, here we go. Strong muscle attachments and healed fractures suggest that royal women could use the weapons buried with them, while also showing that high status did not protect them from hardship. 6 royal mummies, once considered lost, resurfaced in 2020, giving researchers a new opportunity to examine 5 ancient Egyptian princesses and King Hor, H-O-R. The women included 4 sisters, Khenmet, Itaweret, Ita, and Sathathormeryt, along with Princess Noub-Hotep. Really fascinating. Would you like to know more?
Their tombs contained bows, arrows, daggers, and other weapons, but without a modern bioarchaeological explanation, researchers could not determine whether these objects were ceremonial or reflected skills the princesses that had practiced. The bones revealed pronounced muscle attachments consistent with archery training, along with injuries that had received substantial care. Evidence of persistent infection and possible malnutrition also showed that royal privilege did not shield them from every hardship. Maybe they were being penalized.
Maybe, but so I just want to point out, we all know that Moses was a prince of Egypt. Remember when he was a baby, his mother floated him down because there was a decree to kill all the males of the Jews.
Yep, which put him in a basket.
Yeah, came back around 80 years later, you know. But Moses was picked up by the princess of Pharaoh, and he was raised as a prince of Egypt. Now, in the book, The Third 1,000 Years by Skosin, I'm trying to remember his first name. It's a weird name, Clarence, Chive, something like that, Skosin. And he details the first 1,000 years is from Adam to Noah. The second is from Noah to Moses. The third 1,000 is from Moses to the Savior. And when he's talking about Moses, his research indicates that Moses was an accomplished field commander in battle, and diplomacy also on behalf of Egypt. That was part of his role. And it says in the book that he married a Nubian princess in order to seal a deal between the two kingdoms so that they wouldn't be fighting. So if you can get it, The Third 1,000 Years by Skosin, Skouson, it's a good read. It's a good read. Okay, so this is why I believe what this story here. Weapons found in the burial chambers of ancient Egyptian princesses have fueled debate for decades. Were they symbols of status or equipment the women actually knew how to handle? A new assessment of 5 royal women from the Middle Kingdom indicates that at least some of the princesses possessed the physical ability and training needed to use the weapons placed beside them. I don't have a slide. It's not loading.
Yeah, but the slide is showing it's like a dagger, right?
Yeah.
Okay, quote, members of the royal family, especially the women, were active participants in skilled, physically demanding activities such as archery and hunting. And that's according to Dr. Zainab Hashnish, lead author of the article in Frontiers in Environment Archaeology, published July 16th of this year. Going on with the quote, this conclusion is supported by the way their bones developed to sustain heavy muscle use, which corresponds directly to the weapons discovered in their tombs, unquote.
The 6 mummies were originally uncovered during the 1890s at Dashur, an ancient burial site containing pyramids and deep shaft tombs. After disappearing from scientific attention for years, they were located again at the Egyptian Museum during a collection management project in 2020.
4 belonged to daughters of Pharaoh Amenhotep II, who had been placed in paired underground burial chambers. Princess Ita was buried beside Princess Khenmet, while Princess Itaweret, am I pronouncing that right? Itaweret, was interned with an unidentified woman, tentatively recognized as Princess Sathathormeryt. Wow. Their burial goods, what they call her for short, I wonder. Their burial goods included bows and arrows, objects traditionally associated with men, while Princess Ita's coffin held an especially ornate dagger. That's the one that we can't show you, but it's kind of cool looking. I believe, right? That's the one?
Yeah.
Comparable royal objects accompanied Princess Noub-Hotep and King Hor, the other 2 individuals included in the assessment.
The mummification of all 6 individuals had been carefully performed, but their soft tissues had deteriorated into powder, and portions of the skeletons were missing. The princess's skulls, which disappeared in the early 1900s, were among the losses. That really sucks.
Yeah.
Even so, enough well-preserved bone remained for archaeologists to estimate age at death, height, and sex, while also searching for signs of disease, injury, and physical activity.
Well, hopefully these guys were a little kinder to these mummies than that guy that we talked about a few weeks ago, right?
The
King Tut. So
grave robber.
Yeah, and kind of destroyed the thing. So, quote again, Princess Ita was a young woman aged between 28 and 34 with strong upper body muscle attachments, suggesting she habitually used weapons like maces or daggers. That's according to Hashnish. Going on with the quote, Princess Khenmet was a woman in her late 30s or 40s who showed signs of thinning bones but had very robust ligament attachments. Princess Itaweret was a young woman aged between 20 and 34 who survived broken ribs and foot fractures. Her skeleton shows she was a skilled archer. Maybe she got beat up by her sisters.
So this is so shocking that their lifespan, 34, 40, and 34, I mean, very short.
Yeah.
They die in combat. But having that ligament that you can see on the bones, they must have been training from when they were really young.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, probably so.
To get that by the time they're in their 20s or 30s. Okay. The sisters' pronounced muscle attachments point to sustained physical activity that matches demands of handling the weapons buried with them. Comparable skeletal patterns indicate that Princess Noub-Hotep and King Hor also practiced archery.
Again, a quote, we found pronounced development in the upper limbs of these individuals, which correlates to repetitive, high-intensity actions like pulling a bowstring or stabilizing a weapon, proving these activities were habitual throughout their lives. That's according to Hashnish. Going on with a quote, this directly explains the presence of bows, arrows, and maces in the women's tombs. These were not just symbolic gifts, but tools they actively used, unquote.
Several of the royals showed evidence of injury, infection, and nutrition problems. Princess Itaweret's broken ribs were probably caused by a forceful impact or a fall from a height. Rare abnormalities in the sisters' spines also suggest that their parents and extended family were closely related. Closely related.
Yeah. Okay. Another quote. These injuries were most likely caused by accidents, falls, and hard blows, or other impacts linked to an active lifestyle, whether through hunting, military training, or other demanding activities. Again, quoted by Hashish. Going on with the quote, what is remarkable is that the injuries healed well, which suggests they had access to advanced medical care for their time.
The missing skulls restrict what archaeologists can determine about the princesses. Other planned work also remains incomplete, including stable isotope analysis, which could provide more information about diet and possible nutritional deficiencies.
One last quote here, or well, for me, our dream would be to go far beyond simply identifying the Dashur royals, said Hashish. Going on with a quote, we would try to tell their full life stories, their families' health, and even their political roles with as much detail as possible. Beyond the science, we would preserve the remains, create 3D prints for teaching and virtual exhibitions, and display them alongside their jewelry, weapons, and funerary objects. And that's the stuff they put in the tombs.
Yep.
Just their treasures or whatever. So personal items. I never heard that word before. All of this would be done with respect, ensuring the remains are presented ethically, just as they were originally buried.
So something you said here, their political roles. Usually daughters were married away to princes in order to forge political relationships. Can you imagine having a warrior as your wife? That would be pretty cool. I mean,
yeah, and maybe they weren't
inspiring.
You know, maybe they weren't married. Maybe they were.
Yeah.
Maybe they just were resigned to being like protectors of their parents or the kingdom or whatever.
If they're buried and mummified in Egypt, they probably were not.
Yeah. So
okay, another quote here. Their objects and jewelry are truly fascinating, breathtaking in their craftsmanship. Yet, while archaeologists have long focused on preserving these treasures, the people themselves were often forgotten. Our study seeks to change that. Very cool.
Yeah, so maybe this will be out on some kind of a tour when they get all this stuff taken care of. Because I remember we went to a tour, I think it was in Utah, at one of the museums up there that had the Mount Vesuvius, a display of that, some of those artifacts, and it was pretty cool. I never really paid that much attention to it until we went through that display. I know we've talked about it I think one or two times, but yeah, it's fascinating how those people were they were preserved after that flow of lava from Mount Vesuvius. I'm trying to think of the town. What was the name of the town?
Herculaneum and Pompeii.
Pompeii, yeah. So yeah, very cool. So maybe this will go out on display too. Let people see.
King Tut was traveling around, and I got to see him in L.A. Back in the late '90s, early 2000s.
Oh, very cool.
Really fascinating. I'm a big Egyptology type fan.
Yeah, because I mean, regular folks. I mean, me included. I'm never going to go to Egypt and be able to see this stuff, and if they had it on display there. So it's nice that they spread the wealth around a little bit, so to speak. So anyway, good story.
All right, folks, thanks for joining us. We'll see you in the afternoon.
See you this afternoon. Thanks.